talk about that money is extracted energy of people and planet.
Yes.
Can you elaborate for me on what does that really mean?
Well, my best shot, I'm going to try to be more brief on these answers, but I see that there's two ways you create money. The exchange of goods and services has been around as long as there's humans. We have herring. Well, we have salt. Let's trade some. I made these kinds of hats and I made some, let's trade. That's a beautiful thing. Capitalism works on a principle where I pay you $5 and what you produce, I sell for $10. And if I can get you organized to work for me, and if I can figure out where the market is and how to get to market, and what you're going to do, your human labor is generally going to do for me, at least in the beginning stage, is you're going to dig or cut or catch or hunt stuff, beaver pelts, salmon. And if I know how to take that to market and put the price, okay, then I get to make some money there. And then if I can buy up the other fish buyers and make a bigger and a bigger and bigger. So basically, everything that's money came from the planet or the people. So given that, I think we have a moral and ethical responsibility to consider these relationships with people and places and be sure that we're not exploiting to the point of damaging or causing excess suffering. Mm-hmm. So if that premise is correct, and if the global religions or our education systems taught that first, meaning and purpose, responsibility, stewardship, then we might be able to create a really beautiful long-term civilization. As it is, we have not figured out how to manage the commons well. We have not figured out how to manage fairness across society well. Political systems and decision-making are influenceable by capitalizing on that which drives greed, which is fear and uncertainty about meaning and purpose, I believe. And so therefore, I did end up giving a long answer, but that's what I think.
I wasn't planning on going this way, but it just kind of, do you think capitalism is the best system for us to operate from?
I don't think it's a question anymore. I think capitalism is the system. I think there's variations of capitalism. There's how you use it. You could say, you could name anything in the world, sex, love, sports. And so there's this big category, which is really the human marketplace of exchange of goods and services. I don't know really what alternative system is even an option at this point. There's some form of exchange of goods and services, people attempting to concentrate that, government, which is the public sector, whose job should be the commons, being manipulated by all of that. And so the whole thing is capitalism. So how can we do better capitalism? How can capitalism be about the long-term future well-being for everybody? How can because how can I just look out for my kids if the rest of the world turns into the dark ages? And so it's not it's how do we do effective, wonderful capitalism? I'm a capitalist. It's
almost, I'd say that a redefinition of capitalism in the sense of calling it higher than it currently operates from.
Calling it to be higher.
Yeah, very much so. In terms of,
Yeah.
whereas capitalism right now is very much based on kind of self-preservation of what's in it for me versus what's in it for we. And
Right.
For me, looking at kind of, if we were to compare and contrast America and Canada, Canada does blend, I think, more socialism and capitalism than the United States.
And rather than call it socialism and capitalism for me at this point, because I don't even know where there's the socialism model to look to or identify,
Yeah.
what I would say is Canada is still closer to managing the commons and looking out for a social safety net and the well-being of people. And you can argue that spending more on social services creates more stability in society, which means you don't have to spend as much on military. You don't have to spend as much on policing. You don't, if I have health education and then welfare for times when I really get in trouble and I'm in need, if I have those three things, and those are, I don't spend my life worrying about those, whether I can get them. You have a much more stable society. Now there's other things we can add to the list that make it even more enlightened or more advanced. But when you strip away those things on the argument that government's wasteful, as if people aren't wasteful, or people are manipulating what government is, okay, well then support stronger regulations and laws. It's human nature that we're really talking about. That's the challenge. So yes, part of why Canada is so beautiful and so precious right now in the light of things that are happening elsewhere is there still is a fairly good balance between the individual and the society.
And well, I don't know about you, but I couldn't sleep if I didn't know that my neighbors or in any part of Canada weren't taken care of from a health perspective. Like they just doesn't feel good, doesn't feel right, doesn't feel.
It does not. And it was very, very hard for me when a past prime minister was effectively not defending public health care in Canada, while the US and Obama, the Clintons and Obama were fighting so hard to look after the bottom 50 million people. And Canada was attacked ruthlessly in the US by the privatization industry. And Canada not only did nothing, but has been steadily chipping away at it. And not everybody has access to good health care anymore if they all used to. It's getting tougher and tougher.
Yeah.
And there's an anti-government movement that has blossomed that effectively is a blunt instrument that just says government is what is no good. Government's too wasteful and it's not efficient, and do less of it. And I find that very sad.
Yeah, no, it is very, very
and dangerous also.